Hey Naturals, how's it going? Gabby Wallace here from GoNaturalEnglish.com. I am so excited. We're going to have a lot of fun today learning how to speak English using slang to talk about money. Did you know that in American English, we have over 101 ways to talk about this thing right here? Money. That's right. So in this lesson, I'm going to share 101 English slang words, American English specifically, because each country has a different currency and different slang words for it. So actually, I wanted to ask you, where are you from? What is your currency? And what are some slang words that you use in your language to talk about your money? Please tell me in the comments. I'm super curious. I'm a language nerd, and I love to know these things that you don't learn in a traditional language classroom. So let's help each other out. So I'm going to share actually which slang words are most common, which ones native speakers like myself actually use, and which ones you should know, but you're probably never going to use and maybe never going to hear. But it's still fun to know that someone out there has used these slang words to talk about money. So if you're ready to jump in and learn about how to talk about this very important everyday thing like a native English speaker, then let's go. Just before I share the slang words, I want you to know that I put together all my best tips from Go Natural English for learners like you in the English Fluency Formula audio ebook. You can click right up there or go to GoNaturalEnglish.com/ebook to get it today. Okay, let's start with the most common words to talk about money. Actually, these are not slang, but I'll get to the slang really fast. So we have currency, which is to talk about the units that we use to exchange money for services or products. So each country has a different currency. In the United States, it's the US dollar, of course. So we have money, and this that I'm holding right here is cash money. It is the physical money. So if you have cash, if you're going to pay in cash, you'll probably get change. For example, if I go out to lunch and the lunch is $18, but I have a $20 bill, I will get $2 in change. So that's a really important word to know. We have coins. So let's talk about the words, the vocabulary words that we use for the different coins in the United States. We have 1 cent, a penny, 5 cents, a nickel, 10 cents, a dime, 25 cents, a quarter, and 50 cents is a wrapper. Just a joke, guys. Okay, so now let's talk about slang. One of my favorite words is moolah. Feel free to repeat after me. Really, repeating after me is a technique called shadowing or imitation or copying, and it will really help you to remember these vocabulary words. I suggest that you especially try to remember the most common ones, which I'm going to share with you first. So here we go again, moolah. I want to make lots of moolah. How about you? Another one is bucks. So this is $1 or a buck. Super common. It comes from historically when Europeans came to the Americas and were trading with the Native Americans. They used buck skins, apparently, to trade for items. And so buck skins became bucks, or a buck in the singular. So this is a buck. It can also be a single or a dollar bill. We also have to talk about money in general, dough. And a lot of slang terms for money come from food items, which is really interesting because, well, money and food are both really important to our lives, right? So I need to go to work to make that dough. What is dough? Dough is what we use to make bread. So you put the dough in the bread pan and the bread pan in the oven, and then you make bread, which is another slang word for money. Go to work, make that bread. we have another dough-related slang word, which is cake. This is not as common. I've never heard it personally, but I'm sure that a lot of people use it. Cake can be called money. Money can be called cake. Okay, going back to change, we have an expression, chump change. Chump change is a very insignificant amount of money. So $1, for example, is not really worth that much anymore. So it's chump change. A chump is someone who is not very smart, let's say. So you don't want to be a chump and you don't want to have chump change. Because the back of US currency is green in color, we have a slang word, greenbacks, to talk about money. This is a greenback. Other pretty common words to talk about money are smackers, which also means big kisses, but this is one smacker. And loot, which is not a countable noun. So please be aware that some of these, well, they're all nouns. Some of them are countable, like smackers, and some of them are uncountable, like loot. So loot is not a word that we use or un or plural with. Bank means lots of money. To make bank is a good thing. Bacon is a term that means money we often use in a phrase to bring home the bacon. The person who brings home the bacon is the person who makes money and pays the bills. Let's go back to the names for the bills. So I mentioned that this is a dollar bill. It can be a one, it can be a single. We also have $5 bills, so that could be a 5 note. A $10 bill could be a 10 note. A $20 bill could be a Jackson because the president on the $20 bill is President Jackson. Speaking of presidents on dollar bills, we can call US currency dead presidents because on all of our bills, on all of our money, we have, well, dead presidents. They're all old presidents of the United States and they've all passed away. So traveling, I've seen some of your currency and it's so cool. You guys have things like flowers and animals and women on your currencies. Actually, tell me in the comments, what do you have on your currency? As I mentioned, in the US, it's all dead presidents. And so that's another slang word that we can use to talk about money. Where was I talking about the $5, $10, $20 bills? We don't really have slang that I know of for the $50 bill, but we have slang for the $100 bill. A lot, in fact. It can be a C note because C is the Roman letter for 100. A Roman number, I should say. Letter, which represents a number. Okay, we also have Franklins because the president on that bill is Benjamin Franklin. So guess what? We also call them Benjamins or Benjis. $1,000 can be called $1 or a grand. A grand is a very important big thing, so it's pretty clear where the slang came from. Some people say it came from the French grand, which also means big, Old French. Okay, 1,000 can also be represented with the letter K, which comes from the Greek kilo, spelled with a K as well. So you might see something like a car that costs 25K, or a salary for a job that is 50K, for example. So those are some of the most common slang words that we use to refer to American money. Now, I want to share several more slang words with you. I'm going to go a little bit faster because there's a lot of slang words that people use to talk about money. Now, these are still fairly commonly used. The next group is all food items that we use to talk about money. Biscuits, gravy, cream, which comes from an acronym, CREAM, Cash Rules Everything Around Me, created by the Wu-Tang Clan, which is a hip-hop group. Remembering that the back of currency is green, we have several green food items like cabbage, lettuce, and salad that we use to refer to money. I mentioned cake before, but just to mention again, cake bread and dough all refer to money as well. Cheese, and specifically cheddar, which is a type of cheese, can refer to money. Tamales, guac, can both be money. I don't know about you guys, but talking about money is actually making me hungry here. Let's talk about some other slang words that are used to talk about money. So you know that the US borders Mexico, right? And they speak Spanish and use dinero and pesos for their currency. It's also a currency in other Latin American countries. So in the US, using slang to talk about money, we also say dinero or pesos. But notice the accent is a little different. So if you're a Spanish speaker, you'll hear this nice gringo accent that we use. Dinero. It's not dinero, it's dinero. Yeah. Bands, as in the bands that you would wrap around money. Capital. Chips. Not as in the food, but as in gambling chips. Skrilla. Skrill. Clams, bones, scratch, dymo, paper, stash, simoleons, dividends, doing units. So for example, I'm doing units. This is not a noun, right? Units would be the noun, but I'm doing units means I'm making money by selling products. Dub, ducats, which comes from the Italian ducats. Ends, fetti. It's a favorite one of mine because when you throw a bunch of dollar bills in the air, it looks like confetti. So therefore, fetti can be slang for money. Fiat. Fitting. Fitting is another way to pronounce 15 because the pronunciation of the 15 there is a little difficult. We can kind of make it more casual, fitting, and it's a slang word now for $15. Also, hunted. Hunted. Hunted is a way of saying 100. Just keep in mind that this is slang, so I'm not saying that it's correct. It's not the official standard English, but slang is not standard English, right? So this is how we express ourselves in a more colorful way. Finances is the state of one's money. How are your finances? This doesn't have to be slang, but it can be like, I can't go out this weekend, I don't have the finances. So that's using it in kind of an atypical way, whereas if I was your financial planner and I said, how are your finances? That's not slang. That's a more traditional use of the word. Funds is another word for money. Gold, green, simply the color green. Grip, knot, large. Loot, lucci. Nuggets, payola, pound. Not as in the British pound, but pound means $5. Racks, resources, riches. Stacks, stash. Tender, treasure, wad. Yard, yen, milli, or M, or a double M, MM, can represent a million. Rock, OPM, other people's money. Bankroll, shillings. Of course, shillings and yen and pesos are other types of currency, but when we use them to talk about US dollars, it's slang. Notes, lolly, readies, folding stuff, and finally, coin. So I mentioned previously that coin is the word for the circular metal objects, like a quarter is a coin, a penny is a coin, a nickel is a coin, a dime is a coin. But coin can also be a slang term for money. It doesn't necessarily only mean coins, as in cents. So coin can just be a term for money. I want to make a lot of coin. So to wrap up, these were a lot of fun slang words. What I encourage you to do as an English learner is have fun understanding that these words can mean money. Do I recommend that you start using them to talk about money? No. Maybe one or two of the most popular terms you can definitely use, like dough, moolah, bucks. Those are really common. And so I do recommend that you use the most common terms. Definitely be ready to understand when native English speakers, American English speakers, use them in conversation, especially if you're shopping or you go to a store, especially if you're in a place that is a little more American and maybe less international. People might use more slang. So know what these words mean. You don't need to use them all, but it's really helpful, I think, in your understanding of native English speakers. It improves your listening skills because people might be talking about money and you don't even know it. And it's important to know what people are talking about. And money is an important part of our everyday lives. So now I recommend that you watch this again and repeat the words after me to improve your pronunciation. Listen to how the words sound, and you can work on points like consonant clusters in the word scratch, or the L sound like in the word loot, or the R sound like in the word racks. So this lesson is about slang, but we can improve a lot of different points in our English, like pronunciation and understanding of culture too. So I think this is super interesting that there's over 101 ways to talk about money and probably many more that I haven't even thought of. So if you know other ways to talk about US currency that I forgot to talk about here, please add them in the comments. And I can't wait to hear from you. I already asked for a lot of your comments. Tell me about slang words for money in your language. Tell me about what is on your currency. What are the images? Are there people? Are there animals, flowers, places, maybe buildings that are very important in your country? Tell me in the comments. And if I forgot any words, or if you have questions about any slang words to talk about money in American English, tell me in the comments. All right, I'm so happy you joined me for this lesson. I hope that it was helpful. I hope that it was fun. And I hope that you come back. So make sure that you subscribe if you haven't yet subscribed to Go Natural English. If you want to get all the Go Natural English tips in one place, get the English Fluency Formula audio ebook. And stick around for another video. We have new videos each week here for you. Until then, I'll see you later. Bye for now.